Hi friends, Tracy here, and this is my third and final project for this month's card class. I really hope that you're enjoying it. Although this is not a normal card, it does hold a packet of seeds, which makes it super special in my view. So we're using the Flowers of Friendship bundle. This is returning back into the new annual catalogue, as well as the Party Pattern DSP. This is retiring, so if you don't have it in your stash and you really do need it, and it's still available, please go out and purchase it. I'm using the layering circle dies. I've used these in all three of my projects. Great tool to have in your stash, and I highly recommend having them for any project. The ink is Mango Melody as well as Granny Apple Green, and I have all my kit here all ready to go. Now all the measurements and the supplies, everything you'll need is in the PDF, so go and check that out. Refer back to that if you need. So starting off with our card base, this is Mango Melody cardstock. It does measure 8 1/4 by 11 5/8 of an inch. On the 11 5/8 of an inch, we're going to score at 4 1/8 and 8 1/4. Then we're going to turn it to the other side, the 8 1/4 side, and we're going to score it at 2.5 inches. Now, two of these rectangles down below we're going to cut off. We only need the one flap to hold the seeds in. Okay, so we're going to create that opening angled card front, which is very, very similar to my first card, that masculine card that we created with the Campology stamp set. So we're going to, this is on the smaller side, so I think it measures 3.5 inches. There's the card's cut into 3, and the smaller side, we're going to make a mark at 2 inches, and then we're going to turn it the other way and make a mark at 2 7/8, and then we're going to cut from there. So before we can do that, we do need to take off those two bottom rectangles so we can make that mark at 2 inches again to make sure it's accurate. So taking off those bottoms, that gives us that little flap. I've put it back at the 2 inches from the score line and made that mark. So here we can pop the 2 inch down to the 2 7/8 inch on both sides and create that angled cut. Like I said, there is a diagram in the PDF, so please go and check that out if my directions don't make any sense to you. So we're going to do our folding and scoring here. Use a bone folder because that gives you nice crisp score lines and helps to make the card go together. And you may have to just take a slither off that very end, so make sure you do that now before you start gluing and securing down that flap. So I've just taken a real slither off, and that just helps to make it all go together. Alrighty, so now we can move on. If you've got any score lines or marks still showing, just use your eraser to get rid of it. So we've got a few pieces of DSP. The first DSP piece that we're going to put in is that larger piece of the flower DSP. This measures 4 by 5 5/8, and we're just going to glue that in with liquid adhesive. Tombow glue is fantastic for so many projects. And before we can start putting some of our other pieces of DSP down, I'm going to bring some tear and tape in and just secure that flap where it's going to hold the seeds. So I'm just going to add a little bit of tear and tape along each of the ends. Pull that backing tape off and then fold it back down, and that'll be a really great little pocket for the seeds to sit in. It fits in perfectly. Then we have another piece of DSP which measures 4 by 2 3/8, and we're just going to glue that one down as well. So we are going to decorate this with that Flowers of Friendship bundle and add some flowers. So as front flat piece of DSP, this measures 4 by, no it doesn't, it measures 3 1/8 by 5 5/8, sorry about that. We're going to score at 1 and make a mark at 1 7/8 and 2 13/16. Okay, and then we're going to just cut from each of those corners. And that's going to give us the perfect angle for the front of our card. We're going to glue that down with liquid adhesive, just our Tombow multi-purpose glue. Now if you've done your measurements correct, it should line up perfectly. If you have any pencil marks, just get your eraser out and get rid of any marks that we have from our pencil. So if you're in need of any of the supplies that I've used on this month's class, you can purchase them in my online store if you live in Australia. If you live in the US, please pop over to Wendy's website and purchase through her online store. Moving on to decorating our card, I have a piece of granny apple green and basic white thick cardstock that we're going to use. I'm using the 4th smallest in the circle and the 4th largest in the scallop for our die cuts here. I'm using the mini cut and emboss machine because it fits perfectly on my desk and these dies fit through, although I will have to cut down my granny apple green just a little bit because it's a bit wide to fit through the machine. Once we've die cut these ones, we're going to do some stamping on Mango Melody and the granny apple green. I'm stamping granny apple green onto the granny apple green cardstock for the leaves, but for the flowers I actually have used Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto the Mango Melody, and this makes the flowers pop up. It looks really great. Okay, so this is it is a punch bundle, and so it does become complicated when you're punching out images when there is quite a few images that you'll be punching out. It's very hard to get that space. So I will show you how not to do it in a little bit of a way. I can never get it right, but anyway. So I'm stamping the sentiment with the Mango Melody ink. My ink pad has gone really weird. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to affect the stamping, so I'm not too worried about it. But I think I'll have to massage that ink in a little bit and see if that helps. Okay, so I've stamped that row of flowers or design down on the inside piece of the basic white cardstock. And here I am, I'm just showing you how the layout of that punch is. But because I'm actually really careful with my cardstock, I don't like to waste too much. I'm just going to stamp a row of the leaves, which means I'm going to have to cut them down a little bit because they will cut off a little bit with how many images it cuts out at a time. So we're also going to stamp 2 large and 2 of the smaller flowers in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now if you don't really enjoy, if you don't have the punch, you can fussy cut these, it's not a problem. So I'm just going to cut these down as well because they are so tight in the punch, you're going to end up cutting out your images. So here I am just wangling that paper around to be able to cut it out. Now when I'm doing those smaller leaves, or those leaves, I do cut a little bit off the bottom of the next one. It doesn't worry me because we're hiding that behind the flower anyway. So, but you do have to be careful how you're positioning your stamps to be able to go through the punch. Or you can just waste a lot of cardstock by spreading them out a little bit more so you're not punching out any of your images. Here I'm showing you how to use a post-it note. These are really crappy post-it notes, so they're not very sticky. And yeah, I still have trouble, but we get there in the end. I can show you what not to do. I'm a good teacher in that way. So once we have all them done, like I said, we're going to do the leaves. Then I'm going to layer them together with a Stampin' Dimensional, the 2 flowers in between each other for the front of the card. So popping it with a dimensional. And then I'm using glue dots to attach the leaves in behind the flower. I think glue dots are amazing adhesive and they're very strong holding and they're very easy to work with as well. Now if you're using something that's a little bit smaller than the glue dot, roll the glue dot over a little bit. And I will say the glue dots, when you roll them over a little bit, also gives them that little bit of a dimension as well. So there's a little bit of a tip for you. So here I am cutting out a little bit of the other one, as you can see, but like I said, it's not going to matter because we're gluing them behind the flowers anyway. So the last one here, and we can start popping them together. So this card actually goes really well together. I did purchase my seeds from Bunnings here in Australia. I believe seed packets are very similar in size, so hopefully over in the US your seed packets will fit in. I actually went with California poppies, so the other week I went into Bunnings and just looked for some flowers because I've got a couple of beds out the back, garden beds, that I wanted to just pop some colour in. I wanted some flowers, so I don't even know what the other packets are, what flowers they were, but when I saw the Californian poppies, I thought this would be perfect for this project, and it works so perfectly with the colours of Mango Melody and Granny Apple Green. Okay, so I've just popped the glue dots on those little leaves and I'm adding them to the back. Now you can also squish your flowers together or use a bone folder to create extra dimension, and I highly recommend doing that for the front of your card, because just adding that little bit more extra dimension really does make it pop up. With the one on the front of the card, I'm popping it down onto the layering circles, but I'm also going to pop a rhinestone in the middle as well. That just gives it that little extra bling and sparkle. For the inside of the card, I've left them completely just how they are. I haven't scrunched them together too much. I glued them down, and I didn't want too much dimension on the inside of the card, so I've left it pretty plain. So we're going to use our Tombow liquid glue to attach them all together. And this is pretty much our card done. I will say I love this bundle, and it's another one that I'm really happy that I've got, and that it's staying around for another catalogue. So I look forward to using it a little bit more. And it's nice when you have some really great sets staying around, so you're not having to purchase quite so many. So I'm going to add another dimensional. I think I'll put a couple on the back there, just to secure it down to our circle. And the same as we did for our masculine card, you want to make sure that you're not putting any adhesive on the back that's going to glue the whole card down. So I'm just going to sort of line it up, work out where I want it. I'm going to bring my pencil back in and just make a little bit of a mark, and that way I'll know exactly where it sort of needs to go, and I won't be putting any adhesive on the outer side. Now I'm popping this up with dimensionals, but you could also use the liquid adhesive as well. We're just left to add all these elements to the card, so really easy. While I have you here, I just want to say thank you so much for taking part in this month's class. I hope you've enjoyed all the projects that both Wendy and I have created for you. And if you have, I would love to hear your feedback. If you haven't hit subscribe, you could do that as well. Now I have a newsletter that goes out, so you can sign up for that over my blog. If you would like to hear more from me, you can do that. And if you're living in Australia and you would like to purchase any of the products, you could purchase them in my online store. And Wendy has her online store that you can purchase from her. Alright everyone, I really appreciate everyone's time, and I really hope that you've gotten a few tips and tricks out of this class, as well as a couple of different folds and designs. Thank you everyone, enjoy your day and stay safe. Bye bye.